SWIRF TV here. These are the components I'm going to be using for the build. Thanks for watching, guys, and I hope you learned something. If you have any questions, throw it in the comments below. The MSI MPG X570 Gaming Plus motherboard. Supposed to be pretty dope. We'll start with that first. The RAM is the RGB Pro Corsair Vebgeance. 32 gigabytes of that. I skimped on the NVME drive so I could afford the other stuff. This is an easy upgrade later, so just a cheap NVMe 250 gigabyte Munshkin Pilot, but it's not supposed to be too bad. Ryzen 5 3600. This comes. I'm just doing the stock cooler for now. It's also an easy upgrade later on down the road. Power supply is the EVGA 750 watt gold plus, fully modular. Gonna be dope. And the most expensive part of the build, the AMD Ryzen RX 5600 XT. This is the gaming OC 6 gigabyte version, which has the new vbios update, which unlocks an additional bandwidth of RAM and higher core and memory clock speeds enabled. They basically did that because once they came out with that card, in response, NVIDIA lowered the price on the 2060 and the 2060 Super. So what they did was say, hey, we think these chips can handle better bandwidth and whatnot, so we'll drop this new BIOS and compete with the 2060. And so that's what they did, and the benchmarks were pretty impressive. So, you know, the 2060 was running at about, I think, 340, 350 for the boards I was looking at. And that Gigabyte 5600 XT was $300. So, oh my god, look at all this shit. Ha, hilarious. A CD with drivers. We can throw that away. Kappa. I mean, we're keeping it in case we have to take it back. I don't even have a CD drive for this thing. So let's pull all this shit out. Serial number stickers. Set those over there. I got all this stuff from Newegg. It came in really good shape. Everything looked really good. You know, no boxes had any dents. I got the Corsair 275R airflow case, which came with a glass panel. It looks completely flawless. There's no dents or scratches or dings anywhere on it. So. Alright, so first thing is to pull the motherboard out of the anti-static bag. So put the anti-static bag under the motherboard. I'm using a wood table anyway, so that's not a huge deal. But the anti-static bag is nice to just throw under. Pop open the CPU. Again, the Ryzen 5 3600. Comes with a cooler. That isn't too bad, but also not too good. A little sticker. Comes with a sticker for the case. I don't know if I'll use that or not. Maybe. Stick it on the back somewhere. There's the chip itself. Oh, you didn't know that was an anti-static bag? Yeah, like all hard drives and stuff come in that. Let's pop it open this cooler. I'm going to be removing This is the cooler. This is the Wraith Stealth cooler. The 3600 doesn't come with the RGB one. It doesn't matter because I'll be switching this out later anyway. Probably get a water block or at least a decent radiator system, maybe a tower system. I don't know. I'll look into it later. But it comes with pre-applied thermal paste. I'll be removing that and using my own Arctic Silver, which I've already tested on my old CPU and GPU. So this works really good. It is the Arctic Aluminum Premium Ceramic Polysynthetic Thermal Compound by Arctic Silver. Move this. Oh, that's the little fan for the doo-wop. There's no cover. I'm surprised there is no cover for the CPU socket. There usually is some kind of cover in that. That's surprising. Let me get in on this a little bit more. Give me 1 second. Stock thermal paste, yes, is always bad. You never want to use stock thermal paste. It's bargain basement garbage they just slap on there. And also this particular, the Ryzen chips, all the coolers have this thermal paste that hardens. Oh shit, Fitchner with the $3 dono. Thank you, bro, appreciate that. Yeah, so the thermal paste, it hardens after a while. So when I would go out to swap out the cooler, there's issues with hurting the socket because the thermal paste will dry to the CPU and it's really hard to remove later. So I'll just use my own thermal paste. Thank you for the follow. So first thing is pop up this thing on a CPU. It seats the sockets and the pins. On Ryzen chips, the pins are on the CPU, whereas with Intel, the pins are on the socket and the holes are at the CPU. So a little different there. Where is the little thing I'm supposed to line up? That little guy there. And then you look for the arrow on the board, which looks like it's right there. So I'm not using gloves because I'm just going to clean the CPU anyway. So it should just go right in. It sits right in. It's nicely seated. Wiggle it around a little bit, make sure it's in there. Pop the pin back down. There's going to be a little tension. Pop it back in. Boom, done. CPU is in. If I don't change stock fan, am I good for 6 or 7 years with stock thermal paste? Do you plan on doing any overclocking? If you're not doing overclocking, you're generally fine with stock coolers and stock paste. But I was originally going to get the 2700X, and then like when I went to go order it, it went from $170 to $230. So did some more research anyway and found that the 3600 has support for higher memory bandwidth anyway. So turns out it's, even though it has less cores than the 2700X, it is better for games because it has that higher memory bandwidth. Nothing fancy here. You throw some rubbing alcohol on a napkin or towel or whatever. Just scrub this shit off. You don't have to really be gentle here or anything. It's a solid aluminum block. So make sure you don't get any debris in the fins. So if you don't know, the reason you use thermal paste in the first place is because these plates, you know, they're metal. And at a microscopic level, metal isn't perfectly flat. There's divots and air bubbles and whatnot that are fairly hard to see. And what the thermal paste does is it sits in those imperfections and, you know, gives better surface area transmission for heat. So that's what thermal paste do. I'm also going to hit the surface of the CPU real quick as well, just in case I got any finger grease on it, or the factory did, or whatever, because having grease of any kind on there can seriously affect heat dissipation. So just hit that with some rubbing alcohol. Let that dry a little bit before we put the thermal paste on. In the meantime, I will open my RAM up. The 32 megahertz RGB Pro Vebgeance. 2 sticks of 16 gigabyte, because when I do pretty intense After Effects stuff and Adobe After Effects, 16 gigs of RAM does not cut it, at least on my old PC, so I went with the 32 gigabytes this time. Costs a little more, and since I was paying more, I figured I might as well get the bling bling RAM with the RGB on it. So. Bam! RAM! Just like that. This particular board is, you want to use sticks slots 2 and 4, so 1, 2, 3, 4. And just push it down until it clicks in. Click, click. That little clip goes up. That's how you know it's in. And like I said, 2 and 4 is the optimal configuration. I don't even think it'll boot in any other configuration. So pop that down. I was just being really gentle with the first one to make sure I had it in the right configuration. Bam. RAM's in. Rubbing alcohol should be done on that. So nothing fancy here with the thermal paste. It's very easy to do. Sorry, I am not a professional cameraman by any means. So all you gotta do, put like a pea-sized glob in the middle. Just like that. Then I'll just clean the tip off on the rest of it. That's it, nothing fancy. When you put the heatsink on, it's gonna squish all that down and spread out. So. Alright, so I am removing the original bracket for the heatsink because I won't be using that. This heatsink will be screwing directly into the back plate. So I'm gonna do that now. I'm gonna have to hold the back plate up. Alright, so I'm holding the back plate. Lining up those screws. That's not the way I want to go. I want to go this way. If it fits, it doesn't. Darn. So the logos aren't facing the right way even. So, interesting choice. Now when you're putting on the heatsink, you always do a cross pattern. So you screw one side in a little bit. Then you go to the opposite corner and screw that in a little bit. Then you go to the other one, screw it in a little bit. This way the tension is even on the motherboard. Hit it on all sides. Put decent pressure on the final screws. Like, don't go too crazy so you don't like strip them trying to get it back out or anything, but make sure they're decently tightened. Want the good contact, good spread on the thermal paste. All right, plug the fan header in, which goes this way. So, right there, CPU fan 1. Where that goes, like I said, not a pro photographer. I play games and rap and stuff. Alright, it's the Corsair 275R airflow. Oh, that's great when screws do that. Surprised those aren't fitted. Plastic on it, so. Even what's the plastic on it looks pretty good. So that's gonna go in. You can, there's the flash bias one, which is on that side. So yeah, so that's gonna go in this one. Should just click in place. Yeah, nice. It says nice stuff back here. It's got two SSD, nice mounting system for that. It's got two 3.5 inch drive mountings. It's got nice cable routings and all that stuff. So, yeah, they're all in place already for an ATX board. That's really nice. Gonna make this a little easier. Drop it like it's hot. Slap that bitch in there. Line up the I/O and the mounting screw standoffs. CPU cooler. Just like lightly put the screws in place at first. And then tighten them down along the lines across from each other and near each other, so you're not putting lots of pressure in one spot. J Rainbow 1, I'm guessing that's RGB shit. Well, we can do the USB 3 since I can fucking see that one. Keyed out, so you match that up with the one keyed out on the board. Cigarette down, and that is the far one. So. That's a tight, scary cord as well. These are all scary. I'm scared. Okay, that's in there. Like a double braided nice cord too. So it looks like each port on the front has its own individual wiring. So that's nice. That's a premium feature for sure. This case was like 80 bucks. So it's really good. Really good for 80 bucks. Audio plug. That's shitty that the audio cable jumper is way down here. At least it's all one piece and not 97 wires. It's the fan headers. What side is that on? That side? I mean, I'll wire them up nice eventually. That's not going to reach that way. You all right? Shouldn't be in the way of the hard drives. I'll find that out later. I might need like fan wire extenders to make it all pretty and shit. Not really concerned about the look of the wiring at this point. It's a sexy beast right there. It's kind of scary. Flashing the GPU BIOS. Doesn't sound exciting. Oh, I just bricked my $300 GPU. Yay. Look at this fancy case. It's a fancy case. It's like a travel case, like I'm gonna fucking cruise around with. Oh yeah. Look at that motherfucker, dude. That logo on the front here is RGB. It's about the only RGB though. Solid metal black plate, very nice. Oh, the expansion clips are vented, which is really nice for the ones that are still in place. It's all about squeezing all that airflow out you can. Take the PCIe cover off. Support for vertical mounting, so there's like a little extender you put here, and then you can put the GPU this way, so the fans are sticking out this way, but I don't like it. It covers up too much of the board. NVMe drive, like one of the cheapest ones I could get, which also has a sticker for your case. Can't believe how small these are. These fuckers, this same size, come in like up to 4 terabytes, I think. Oh, yikes. Ta-da! Alright, so is this like a sticker on this? Heat pad? Heat sink? Yeah. It probably says don't remove that sticker, you'll void your warranty, but they can suck my dick. Alright, so how does this mount there then? So this is a pre-applied thermal paste thing. I'm not fucking with that. So that's staying on there. It's not a CPU, so I'm not that worried about it. I wouldn't know how to put RAM thermal paste on anyway, so. Nice. So it's going to keep the NVMe drive from getting too hot, because they get hot really easy and then they slow down. Like, not going to hurt it if it gets too hot. It's just the hotter it gets, the slower it goes, you know, to protect itself. Nice. I forgot that came with this board. That's nice. Yeah, okay, that's that. It's a good thing I did that, because that would have been really hard. I would have just had to take the GPU out again. So. Yeah. Big dog. Think these are the right screws? I don't know, because I have fucking screws everywhere at this point. Oh, gonna get mad FPS in ZVZs and Albion. Yeah. Well, I'm sure I'll play something else at some point. Not a big fan of single player games, and those are usually the ones with the best graphics. This thing is so heavy, unbelievably heavy. Instructions. I don't think we're going to need that for a power supply. Hopefully not. Don't eat that, by the way. Keep out of reach of children and don't eat the pack, okay? The main motherboard power right here. This 24-pin big dog. Slide that in nice and tight. The power for the GPU. Okay. CPU. 24-pin graphics card. Fans are plugged in. I think that's it. Now the question is, top down or top up? I mean, there's a grill for it on the bottom, and there's also a grill on there, so which way does it blow out is the question. I think we'll have it blow out the bottom. Cool. Nice, easy fit. Alright, let's plug these bitches in. All right. Shoving all these wires in now is the fun part. Oh yeah. I mean, there's a really good chance that something won't be right and I'll have to fuck with something before it'll boot, but you never know. At this point, I'm just going to make sure all the wires are plugged in, everything looks good, double, triple check everything before I hit the switch and boot it up. Grab my mouse and keyboard and hook up my monitor and cross my fingers. Alright, so all the warning lights and stuff are cycling through. I don't know if they do like a check and they light up and then they turn off or what. Oh shit, looks like I got it to boot on the first try. That's fucking amazing. I was not expecting that. So now I'm just gonna go in the BIOS and check all the components, make sure it's reading my NVMe drive and the RAM is reading at its base SPD settings, and the processor, etc. So just digging around in here, everything looks good, so I'm going to go ahead and save and exit the BIOS. I'm not going to overclock anything right now, I'm just doing a base level test. I'm going to install Windows and then I'll run some benchmarks. Alright, so after about an hour or two of tweaking, this is what I'm working with for benchmarks. Overall, pretty good scores. As you can see right here, this PC is likely operated by a technical master. Yeah. So it's a nice, stable, steady overclock. Only 4.1 gigahertz, like flat. There's no turbo or boost or anything. It's just steady 24/7 at 4.1 gigahertz. No throttling, none of that. 1140 isn't too bad for the 64 core score. I'll take it. I have a higher bench that wasn't stable. I'll show you in a second. I threw in my old GTX 1050 so I could use it to record and render video on the side while I'm doing other stuff, and also for my streaming render on Twitch. 100th percentile, I got that tweaked really nice. I know the settings for it. Here's the 5600 XT, 97th percentile, overall score 89.7. You can see the FPSs there, not too bad, 429 overall, 288. There's the $46 Munshkin drive, 1674 read, 977 write. Not bad. I also put in my old WD Blue. I have two of them, so I have them in a striped array, basically RAID 0. So it's reading at 230 and writing at 210, 100th percentile, best bench with that drive because there's two, little cheating going on. Here's what the RAM looks like at 3200 megahertz. So not bad. There's a 4.3 gigahertz bench. I actually got it to bench. It wasn't very stable, like it did crash eventually. So 97.4, 1169 on the 64 core score. That's about the max I could get out of the graphics card as well. 91.5 overall, 454, 293. Here's the RAM at 3333, 98.4. 40 gigabyte per second read, 40.6, 25.1 write. I got the latency down to 69.1, so not huge improvement, but after flashing the BIOS chip several times, I gave up on timing, so I don't know enough about it. So I have to do more research into that. But yep. Very happy with the build overall for, you know, about $1,150, including shipping. Very good for the price. I think I did very well in the component choices, and overall I'm very happy. So let's take a look at the case with the bling bling now that I'm done. I'll add more RGB later. I'll replace the fans that came with the case and add RGB ones, and maybe get an RGB cooler. I don't know. I might get a closed water loop type system. So, all right, guys. Thank you for watching. Leave any comments below, questions, recommendations, things you would have changed in the build. Like, comment, subscribe, and suck a dick.